Hi everybody and welcome to the Creative Corner, an opportunity to get inside the head, the heart, the soul of authors, find out why they've written their books, what they're hoping to achieve with it, and a few other things along the way that aren't so related to books. Now usually I'm joined by the Flash, and no, he hasn't got COVID or anything like that, but I thought we'd change this up a bit. So here, joining me to do these author interviews on the Creative Corner is Thor.
Thanks, Ocean.
What up, Josh?
I've been really well. How you doing?
Pretty good, mate, pretty good. I've noticed that chair is really, really small for you.
It is a little bit.
Is it a bit cramped? You're a big fella.
Look, it fits well.
Fits well?
We had to do we had to do a bit of camera adjusting, because Flash is just a little bit shorter than old Thor, but besides that, it fits well.
Good, good. One of the reasons I wanted to bring Thor into these interviews is that because of the mentorship program we have, he's working quite closely with the authors on a marketing level, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to kind of get inside the head and hearts of the authors.
I'm excited. I've seen these on the outside and seen them on things, so I'm really excited to be proud of, and hopefully I can fill the shoes of the Flash and maybe give a bit more as well.
All right, well let's get cracking. Joining us today is the author of The Answer Is You, Tony Stephen. Tony, how are you, mate?
Very well, thank you, Ocean.
Okay, well let's get this first question underway, Tony, and it's a pretty obvious one. Who is Tony Stephen?
Ocean, I'm a former not-for-profit manager. For 30 years I've been running different associations. Everything from retail traders associations, hairdressing, right through to a council of small business in Australia, and most recently, the Australian Medical Association. I ran that for 10 years in Hobart, Tasmania.
Whoa, just backtrack a bit. Corporate, a lot of corporate going on there with what you just said, but you mentioned hairdressing?
Yes, well, they all have their associations. You're probably a member of the Book Writers or the Book Publishers Association.
Australian Publishers Association.
The CEO of that organisation plays the role that I used to play with all those different associations.
I was just thinking, because I've losing my hair and I thought you might have some ins to help me out with that, but maybe not, maybe not.
So, Tony, where did the idea for the book come from?
Do you know, it came from a lesson in resilience. Over a period of time I found, over my lifetime, I found that I've had a couple of times where things went wrong. I lost my mother earlier in my life, my marriage broke down quite a few years ago, but I thought to myself, being sad or being upset or being angry about those things is not the answer. So I had to push through, and I know everyone does this in their life because there are ups and downs, but what is it that made me push through? So I had to really drill down and look at myself and realise that my mind, my body are vessels or vehicles, and it was the decision maker in my head that was actually pushing me through. And I wanted to explore that. So I made a series of steps by making post-it notes, and I put post-it notes underneath each one of those steps, and all of a sudden I realised I had a structure for a book about self-responsibility.
Wow, that's an incredible process, but a lot of insight as well to go through that journey and end of a path of post-it notes that leads to a book. I think that's incredible.
It came from a course I did many years ago, and it helped me with this total realisation that my life is my responsibility. And we all make mistakes, but you've got to own them. And many people are living within their emotions and not actually pushing through. And that's the hard thing to do.
So accountability, really, isn't it?
Self-responsibility, that's exactly right. That's the tagline of the book.
Yeah. So I'm looking at, as you're talking, I'm thinking about, we obviously work a lot with authors, a lot of creatives, and there's a process that we implement. There's systems that are in place to help publish and market the book. And quite often I find that, some of the authors aren't as connected to that self-responsibility in that journey. So I'm thinking right now, I already know a target market for this book. Clearly authors is a place where the book is targeted towards, for me, from my perspective. Who else is this book targeted towards?
It's a very good question, and I've battled with it. I think it's very wide. A lot of books are specifically targeted, and I think mine could go just about everywhere, simply because it applies to everybody's mental framework. I talk a lot about emotional fitness in the book. That's a term that I've put together that talks about, refers to making sure that you are in charge of how you react to your feelings. So that way, because of that, it could apply to everybody. I mean, authors are people who have an amazing drive, because to write the book that I've just gone through, it's taken, the idea was 10 years ago, and to keep going and then to keep going back whilst I was working, and then after I was finished and retired, I kept going. So it takes a lot of self-responsibility to write a book. So you've got to congratulate your authors because they've gone that far. Getting them to the finish line is something mentors like you two can help with us all.
Yeah, look, I've often said this in a public setting, that if I looked at all the people that have come to me in my career and said, hey, I've always wanted to write a book, you know, we'd be in the tens of thousands. And out of those people that have actually decided to write something, you know, you bring that number down. And then you look at that, who finishes it, smaller again. Then who comes and brings it to somebody like our office and goes, hey, I want to do this, even smaller again. So even though you've got, there's so many books out there and you think, oh, just swamped with books, actually it's not when you look at the bigger picture. But in a creative sense, without a doubt, I could see how people that are in the creative or entertainment industry would get strong value out of this kind of insight. But I'm also thinking millennials, you know, and I'm thinking how the millennials have a different mindset when they're stepping into their career or out of school and uni and going to their career. And one of the most obvious areas of personal development that I feel they need to look at is self-responsibility and accountability. Would that be fair?
That would be fair. Self-responsibility, if I had had this level of it when I was 21, my life would be completely different. And opportunities would have opened up. I would have saved more money. I would have invested more in properties. I think that I would have been a lot more sensible compared to the ones I did. Success would have been there waiting for me. It makes you think, doesn't it? Like, how did Richard Branson get to where he is? Elon Musk, how did he become a billionaire? And it all comes down not to talent. I mean, there's a certain extent of that, I guess. We've all got a talent in some direction or another, but it's the amount of focus, what they paid attention to, and the length of time they did it for.
And they failed. The amount of times they failed. Like, if you get to list all of Richard Branson's innovations that he's tried to launch, he has so many failures compared to the amount of successes he's got. It's out of it.
So, whenever we hear authors say, my book's for everyone, we sometimes get a bit nervous because, you know, normally most books aren't. They're targeted to a market for a specific need, desire, influence, whatever it may be. But with yours, it is for everyone because everyone goes through those challenges and hardships, and whether at a young age or an older age. So I'm assuming you'd be getting a lot of feedback on this from all different types of people. What kind of feedback have you been having from the book?
Thor, that's a really good question because a bit of feedback I have had is they like the structure of it. I delve into an area of creation or manifestation, and I'll go through the 7 steps of each of those of the process. I mean, like when you have an idea, when you have a thought, when you have a word, when you take an action, when you have a reaction, an interaction, and then the lessons that come from those. Each one of those steps are opportunities for you to influence the outcome. And I've had a lot of people say that is something that it makes it real for them.
Sure. And it sounds like they can jump in at certain points and resonate with it a bit easier because it's not just like we all follow that same process, but we're all at different parts of that process.
So when you're reacting to something that someone said to you, you are in charge of how that reaction is. Are you reacting or purposely responding is the key to that particular chapter. Having an idea, which is one of the first chapters, how do you get yourself ready for an idea? Well, you educate yourself. Get yourself into a place where you've got enough information so that the connections are made. So all of the steps have small and large areas where they can influence your life and the outcomes of your life.
Interesting. So is that what the book is there to achieve? Is to give people the opportunity to be introspective and kind of map out a structure to proceed more fulfilling?
The word is resilience, and each individual has a responsibility to be a little bit resilient. Let me put it this way. We all talk about mental health as if it's a problem. When you think about the words you're using, mental health means you're healthy mentally. It's when you've got a mental ill health that there's a problem. But just like physically, you can be mentally fit as well. So to maintain mental health, you need to be mentally fit. You need to take responsibility for what you think, what you do, what you say. And the more you do that, the more stronger you become. And I think that's an area where, in today's world, when we're starting to investigate or be aware of our status mentally, it's an area where we've got to start concentrating. It's like a gymnasium for the mind and the emotions.
Yeah, well, look, if we look at things like COVID, and we look at some of the situations that have happened in America with 9/11 and all those flow-on effects, there has been a huge shift in how we look at our mortality. And there is definitely a stronger demand for books, insights that are allowing us an opportunity to grow as human beings. I think you really have got something quite powerful in what you've put in The Answer Is You. But personally, what's your mission? What do you want to see the book do?
I'd like to see more and more people become self-aware, more and more people become self-responsible. During that COVID period, you've got to admit that there were people that were not complying. Why was it that they were not complying with the rules that the rest of society wanted them to do? And to me, if we had more people being responsible for themselves and being aware that they had to step up and behave the right way, well, then we would have a much better outcome in our world. Crime is a big issue around the world. Now, what if we were able to educate people, not necessarily not to do things, but to be a little bit responsible about how reactions and actions they have in their life.
When you thought about writing this book, from the very early stages right up until now, with the book in hand, out in the world, what did you learn about the writing process? Was it what you expected, or what was your journey like through that process?
I had no idea how hard it was, Thor. To me, it was I'll write a few things down and then put them together. And it just wasn't like that at all. I did start, as I said before, with the post-it notes. And I found that gave me the structure straight away, so then I knew I could fill it in. But the discipline of having to write it all down and then make it flow was a problem. I think when I first met with Ocean, I asked him some questions about the flow of my book and whether it all fitted together, because I'd written it in pieces.
I remember. And the publishing process, what about that? Once we'd actually got it into the system, and you're working with Flash and the team, and obviously with Thor and marketing, how did you find all that?
What an emotional roller coaster that is.
Isn't it?
Those editors, they are amazing what they've done for me. And it's impressive to see that the company takes so much attention to the process and what has to be done. So I'm very, very thankful to ORP for what you've done for the book.
Well, it is it's self-responsibility. I mean, we run this business very fluidly, and I don't look at any of the team as employees or staff. And I think that as a creative leader, it's really important that there's this open table where people can, say anything they want to and not be worried about the guy sitting in the top chair smacking their hands over the knuckles. Now, when you create that environment, what you get is you get this incredible amount of buy-in and self-responsibility into the work they do. So they definitely go above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to how, from an editorial perspective, how far they go in giving advice to authors. From a publishing perspective, you look at Flash and JJ and Valkyrie and that, they go past the amount of time they should be putting into authors, and so do you. You go, I guess I'm the only one that probably is up for question, but you know, that's, you create the environment where that accountability is there, and you as an author, you feel that connection with each one of them, even if you don't get to meet them all, which is pretty powerful. I like that.
Every association or company has a culture to it, and that culture often, in the beginning, reflects the personality of its leader, and then it permeates through. Being a person that's able to be a good leader will ensure that the company then builds its own entity, its own feeling, and it will go on. I mean, the best example of that is Richard Branson and the Virgin brand.
Absolutely. Just before we, Thor asked us this question, so just tell me, have they lived up to the standard that you and me had a coffee at that coffee shop, remember? And you know, you hadn't met any of them. Have they lived up to that?
Just between you and mate, Thor's got a problem, but the rest are okay.
I bloody knew it. I knew it all along.
No. The Thor has been an absolute gem for me.
Awesome.
And I really appreciate the work you've been able to do with me. And not only do you deliver the content well, but you call me to action occasionally, call me to order. So that's important. Getting us across that finish line, as I said.
Absolutely, and just to weigh in on that discussion, you know, I think a good workplace is like family. It's a home. And I often use that when I discuss businesses, is think of it like your family, like home. Who are you inviting into your home? What rules do you have in your home? What sort of respect would you have for your housemates? What do you tolerate? What don't you tolerate? And anyone that wears a superhero shirt when you meet them for the first time and then somehow manages to influence everyone else to wear superhero shirts is a pretty amazing work culture to be a part of.
Well, we could pull Deadpool in just briefly. Just, you know, actually come around here, mate. Just say you're in shot.
Yeah.
Let's just show that this actually happens behind the scenes. Deadpool wears his shirt when he's filming. Hey,
Part of the family.
that's it. It's part of the family. And I think that that's awesome what you said there, and it is, again, relevant to what Tony's book's about. The accountability in leadership, in management, and in doing what drives you. You welcome people into your home. In my opinion, and I know there's people that don't agree with this, who I am at home, sitting with Vicky Jane, having a chat to her about whatever, I'm going to be that same person when I'm sitting with you or whether I'm sitting with an author. And I think that and it's not easy, but I think that consistency and authenticity brings that self-responsibility to the forefront, doesn't it?
100%. Well, like your book, Tony, it's personal responsibility. Like, this is the environment, you choose how you want to action it. Ocean's created an environment, we choose how we action around him. And if he's creating an environment that is safe, that we can understand and want to work with, it makes the whole process a lot easier and it brings out the best in people. But I want to know what's next for you, Tony. What's happening now? What's going to be in the future?
I'm going to offer myself as a speaker. I think the message is something that could be broadcast across many different conferences and events. I've done a little bit of it before, so I know I can do the job. My aim is to not only present just as a person on the stage with a PowerPoint behind me, but to bring an element I saw a few years ago about a movie show. So it would be me in front of almost a movie in the back, and there'd be a whole description of the message that I'm trying to put forward, not just through somebody going through points or lists, but by showing examples and telling stories and all of it happening in the background at the same time. So it's not just a speaker on the stage, but an event in itself.
It's an experience.
An experience. Well,
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really, if you think of innovative ways to actually get your message through in an educational sense that people are not used to, you'll end up grabbing more of their attention, eh?
That's exactly right. And stories implant emotions to a message. And if you implant an emotion to a message, it will be remembered.
Oh, I like that. I hope we get free tickets.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, well, let's change the questions up a little bit. I mentioned we get inside the head and the heart and soul of the authors, and this one digs really deep into your soul, mate. As a creative, and you are a creative, we are all creatives, whether you want to own it or not, we are. What would be your spirit animal and why?
It'd have to be a border collie.
A border collie.
A border collie.
Notice it's not just a dog, he's specific.
Yes,
Definitely.
that's what I noticed as well.
Why?
They're a magnificently able dog. They jump fences, leap tall buildings in a single bound.
There you go.
They're disciplined, and they're also a beautiful dog, which I miss out a bit there. But anyway.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good. I am a huge fan of border collies, and I completely agree with you. And I think to me, it's their ability of wanting to learn. They're learning. They're always wanting to learn, be stimulated, keep things going. So I think that I can see the connection there.
And they're loyal.
Yes, 100%. So that was a great question, Ocean. But obviously, this is going to be the most important question of the entire interview: is what superhero would you be and why?
Right.
Thor's taken.
I got that. That's Superman.
Yeah, you've got no chance
And
of seeing that.
I was thinking Marvel and all the rest of it, but I've come up with one. Have you ever seen The Matrix?
Yes.
I am Neo.
Ooh, he got my interest on that.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, well, not only can he dodge bullets, but he also broke through the maze of life into truth and reality. And so he saw life for what it really, really was and took responsibility. Plus, he was able to put an injection in the back of his neck and learn anything he wanted straight away.
I forgot about that part. That's pretty interesting.
It goes back to the border collie, which is good. So Neo, I love that, and you know, I'm not anti-establishment. That's a bit strong, but I'm certainly not part of the mob mentality or that sheep philosophy where I need to listen to the social construct. So I would have to say that's probably one of the best answers I've had in a superhero sense. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, this is definitely intriguing. You're going to want to find out more about the answer as you. So go and check out Tony's website, find out more about what he's doing on a speaking level as well. There is the link at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you get yourself a copy. And I tell you what, you all know someone who needs a bit of a shift in their life right now. So hell, buy two, why not? We'll see you next time on the Creative Corner.